So we might get straight into our wonderful speaker. So Chris joined Tourism Australia in 2019, leading distribution and partnerships for North America. Prior to that, his roles included country manager in the US and country manager in Canada for Air New Zealand. So welcome along, Chris. It's great to have you online.
Cool, thanks Michelle, and good morning everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Really excited to be with you guys today and provide you a bit of an update on all things North America. Happy to answer any of your questions. So as Michelle said, if you just pop them in the chat box, and we'll come back to them again. This is a pretty small group, so hopefully we can get through any of your questions that you do have. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. So as Michelle said, I'm Chris. I've been with the Tourism Australia team now in North America for 3 years. Firstly looking after the partnerships and distribution team, and I've was acting in the vice president role since July last year, but officially took up post in May this year. So excited to be leading the efforts of Tourism Australia North America on behalf of you all and our industry partners in Australia as we embark upon this recovery journey that we do have. So excited to be talking to you guys today. In terms of what I want to cover, my slide screen starts. So I want to start off by just giving you a bit of a state of play of tourism in this market. So I'm just going to cover off some of the key indicators that we're using at the moment to help us understand what's happening from a recovery perspective. I'm sure you're all keen to know what's happening with consumers at the moment, so I've got a couple of slides to share on, I guess, just broader consumer sentiment, some of the things that we're seeing that might be impacting us at the moment. Then I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about all the work that we've been doing over the last 6 months to support our reopening since we announced our borders opening in February. And then I'm going to spend the last chunk of my time just talking about high level some of the work that we've got coming up this year to continue to focus on driving up both consideration for Australia and ultimately conversion and driving that visitation, not just over the next few months, but into next year and the years beyond. So first off, to kick off with the state of play, I want to share some data sets with you. So first off, if we focus on the centre, this talks about how aviation recovery is recovering for us at the moment. So we know that aviation is the single biggest enabler in terms of how much and how fast we can recover our arrivals and visitor spend as a destination. So there's a really good news picture here from a North America perspective. Right now, from a US perspective, we are sitting around 52 to 60% of our pre-COVID aviation capacity. That will start to ramp up significantly from the end of October and through the end of this calendar year. So by the end of this calendar year, we'll be back at 79% of pre-aviation capacity from the US to Australia. This is really positive for us, and within this trajectory back growth, we've already seen some new services announced by some of our aviation partners. We have Qantas launching new services in December from Dallas to Melbourne for the first time non-stop. And I think more importantly for the Northern Territory, we've got United announcing and commencing from the end of October their new non-stop service from San Francisco to Brisbane. And obviously with their new partnership with Virgin Australia, that provides good connectivity into regions like Northern Territory through that gateway. So really positive there. Canada is also a really good news story. Obviously smaller non-stop aviation capacity there, but we're already back up to around 90 to 95% of pre-aviation, pre-COVID capacity there with our partners at Air Canada. They're operating more than daily to Sydney at the moment. They came back into Brisbane from July this year, which was earlier than we had anticipated. That service will ramp up to daily operations over the course of our upcoming summer, and we expect them to be relaunching into Melbourne at some point next year as well. So aviation is a good news story for us. We have a long way to go though, and we're working hard with the state and territory partners and the airports around how we can further leverage growth opportunities and work with key partners like United Airlines, American, Delta and Qantas and Air Canada to make sure they're continuing to focus on growth opportunities that we see for Australia. If we look on the left, if we look at broader demand trends at the moment, so we use Skyscanner flight search to help us understand what's happening from an overall demand perspective at the moment. And if we look at the US, search volumes for Australia, so people actively seeking vacations to Australia, that is back to 88% of pre-COVID levels. And in Canada, that's even stronger at 98% of pre-COVID levels. So again, we've got really strong demand out there. And then if we look on the right side, this chart shows us overall forward booking volumes to Australia. And I'm going to show you a slide next in terms of how that compares to overall market. So for the US, our forward booking profile is actually at 63% as we look forward into the calendar. So this is anything forward from this point for the next 12 months. And in Canada, that is back at 56%. So if we look at how that's growing compared to our aviation, we're definitely seeing a stronger growth trajectory in terms of actual forward booking at the moment, compared to how the aviation capacity is returning. So this is really positive for us. If we look at how actual visitation has returned in our data so far, so we have data now up until July, the US has returned to about 52% of pre-COVID visitation levels from a volume perspective, and Canada is slightly ahead around 56 to 58%. So again, we're seeing really good momentum early on as we've reopened, but the forward position is really strong for us at the moment. And just to give you some context in terms of how overall trend is going in market at the moment. So this takes the 56 and 63% for Australia that I showed you and plots it against how overall out of region demand is recovering at the moment. So out of region, as we measure on this scale, is anything that's off continent, so anything that's across the ocean basically, so excluding Mexico, Caribbean and trans-border travel between the US and Canada. So we can see here that the US forward booking demand profile for out of region has returned to 97%, and Canada has returned to 91%. So a really strong rebound in overall out of region travel at the moment. And we can see Australia starting to trend back upwards again. And we expect to see this continuing as we see more aviation capacity coming online over the next coming months. But I guess we all know that in the last 3 to 4 months, there's been a lot of change in the economic landscape globally in many of our international markets. And as we track consumer sentiment broadly, we can see that not too long ago, fear of catching COVID was the single biggest barrier to folks recovering in terms of international travel. But given the pressures we're seeing economically at the moment, the single biggest factor now hampering people booking long-haul vacations is financial reasons. And we're seeing huge pressure on global energy prices at the moment. Inflation in the US is kicking up to between 9 to 10% at the moment. Interest rates are continuing to climb. So it's putting a lot of pressure on discretionary spend in the very short term. However, despite that, our data is telling us that despite these trends that are going on at the moment, consumers are generally prioritizing their travel spend over and above many other significant areas of discretionary travel spend. So this chart shows us that spend on travel is still number 2 behind grocery, and travel is sitting above many other discretionary items at the moment. So people are still placing value on their vacations, particularly in the context of being more restricted over the last couple of years, and people are still wanting to take that vacation travel and spend on long haul, which is positive for us at this time. And further within that, we can see that the spend is really being driven by the high earners. So if we look at, if we take consumption and inflation, which is what this chart is showing us, and the impact on overall spending, we can see here that despite the inflationary pressures, etc., that overall category spending on travel in the US is continuing to grow, which again for us is a positive sign that despite some of these pressures that are going out there in the world at the moment in the short term, people are still traveling and still willing and wanting to travel to long haul destinations like Australia. So that's just a broader piece in terms of, I guess, some of the signals that we're seeing at the moment in terms of overall demand, and also just a bit of commentary on some of the headwinds that we're seeing at the moment. I want to spend a few minutes now talking about some of the work that we have done over the last 6 months. The team here have delivered to support our reopening since we opened back in February. So from a press perspective, we had a huge focus in the initial stages of making sure that we got the word out broad and wide that Australia was reopening, providing the information around what the restrictions were at the time. In the US, we drove over 3.3 million media impressions around the initial reopening blitz, and in Canada, just under 100,000. And combined about $44 million worth of earned advertising value from all the coverage that we generated. So it's definitely fair to say that when we opened back in February, the news was received extremely positively, and people were excited in this market to see that Australia was opening again. Combined with this, we also invested heavily by making sure that we reconnected with our travel advisor community across North America. And we undertook a roadshow in partnership with all of our state and territories, including the Northern Territory. And we took Australia on tour across North America to 11 cities. The idea of this was to engage with key travel advisors across key markets. So we went to cities like San Francisco, Seattle, Dallas, New York, Toronto, Vancouver, Boston, Chicago, San Diego. I think I got them all in there. So it was a great opportunity for us to get back out in front of travel advisors again and remind them that Australia was open, provide confidence that they could sell Australia again, and a real education piece around making sure that people understood what they had to do for their customers to get them to travel safely to Australia at that time, around restrictions, the vaccination requirements, testing requirements, etc. So over the course of this event, we talked to over 650 travel advisors, and we also added a media element to this as well. And we had over 120 media join us at certain cities across the US. So super successful in terms of getting that word out there, but also from the travel trade community, providing that confidence and reigniting that passion for selling Australia again. And then back in May, we obviously had ATE. We had a strong contingent coming down from North America this year. We had over 70 buyers and 15 media. So everyone was excited to get back down to Australia again. Hopefully you met some of our North American buyers at ATE this year. And I think the single biggest takeaway that we got consistently from our travel advisors, apart from valuing the opportunity to reconnect with industry again, was also, I think, a real sense of how Australia has continued to grow its product offering in the last couple of years broadly, despite the fact that we've been closed. And I think that has given our buyers that came down a renewed sense of confidence and passion around why they should be selling Australia now, and that there is new things waiting for their guests when they come back to Australia again. So from that perspective, ATE was very successful for us. We look forward to coming down again in May next year to the Gold Coast. As you guys know, our key marketing platform to support reopening was Don't Go Small, Go Australia. And we put a significant amount of time and investment behind using this platform to get the word out in front of consumers again that Australia was reopened. So this just highlights some of the environments that we placed our marketing dollars to get the word out that Australia is out there open again, and reignite the passion for consumers wanting to consider and ultimately book a vacation to Australia. So we worked with key partners like CNN Traveller, Condé Nast Traveller, TripAdvisor, for example. Through this in the US, through the content that we generated behind Don't Go Small, Go Australia, we generated over 48 million views. We had a cumulative reach of 82 million consumers in the US, and we generated over 216 million media impressions with the advertising campaigns that we did do. So again, really high engagement with our campaign. People interested, excited about the fact that Australia has reopened again. Combined with this, we also had a significant amount of focus in the partnership space. So starting on the right-hand side, we worked with our two priority key airline partners in both the US and Canada. So in Canada, we worked with Air Canada, and in the US, we worked with Qantas and American Airlines. These campaigns were vital to us around making sure that We got the message out to those airline key customers that Australia was reopening again and that they should come and book now. Air Canada, for example, during the course of the campaign, they made over 8,500 bookings to Australia during the course of the campaign. And Qantas American combined, they doubled their original target for the campaign. So highly successful, and we saw huge volumes coming through there. We also had a 4-month campaign with Expedia, which just finished at the end of September. So we're just formulating results at the moment, but again, using key distribution partners like Expedia to make sure that we were leveraging the breadth and reach of their channels to the US customer. Again, firstly, to get the word out there that Australia was reopened again, but ultimately drive those customers to book through this platform and drive that visitation back into Australia. And then in a more traditional distribution landscape space, we supported all of the key specialist wholesale and retail partners for Australia. So brands that you'd all be familiar with: Down Under Answers, Swain Destinations, Go Away, Springboard, Aspire Down Under Endeavours. We supported all of those partners with 2 waves of activity. First off, we did a marketing program with Travelzoo to promote the KDP offers out to their customers. And then we did a second phase of activity where we did more traditional co-op models with them, whereby we partnered and provided marketing funding to support their own marketing programs. These campaigns were really successful for us, much like the broader trend that we are seeing in market at the moment. The big single trend that we're seeing in market at the moment is that spend is returning quicker than visitor volume. So for this particular campaign, we saw volumes return at around 45 to 48% of pre-COVID levels, bearing in mind that this campaign activity with the KDPs was done back in March, so right in the early March, April, right in the early phases of reopening. But average transaction values were back at between 55 and 60%. So again, aligned with broader trends in market, where we are seeing that whilst necessarily volume isn't returning at the same levels, spend is returning higher based on the fact that when people are taking vacations at the moment, they're coming into destination, they're staying longer, and they're spending up on all of their experiences, whether that's upgrading their hotel categories, whether that's upgrading their on-the-ground experiences. So that is a trend that we are continuing to see flow through at the moment as well, even as we look forward into the forward booking calendar. And we also continue to re-engage with our distribution network. So advisor education was significantly important. So using our Aussie specialist platform, we trained over 8,500 advisors in the last 6 months. And we have over 3,600 qualified Aussie specialists between the US and Canada, actively eager, supporting and able to sell Australia. Our consortia partners continue to be a key part of the B2B outreach that we do, working with both with Virtuoso, Signature Travel Network, and the Travel Leaders Network as our core consortia partners. So again, we leveraged these partners to make sure that we got the message out in front of the broader retail advisor network that Australia was reopening and reopened, and providing them with the tools and resources to make sure that they could sell Australia with confidence again. And as we look forward into, I guess, our approaches for next year, one of the things that we've done here at Tourism Australia North America is really reassess how we can more efficiently invest our marketing dollars, whether that's for B2B or B2C, and make sure we're focusing on the areas that we think we can generate a quicker return from in terms of how the market will return. So what we've looked at here is looking at where in the US our visitor profile comes from. Our customers don't come from one specific area; they're really spread across the US. But as we look at where we can invest our dollars and where we think the visitors are going to return from quicker, we spent some time looking at how we further articulate our strategies in the US. So this just highlights the importance of the US market in the high yielding traveler expenditure category. So what we're doing here is really starting to look at redefining the US as one single market to looking at it as many multiple markets within a market. And as a result, we're going to be taking forward an approach in the US where we will have a broad approach nationally. However, we will elevate our focus in California, Texas, and New York as being our three biggest priority markets. Between these three markets, these represent roughly 40 to 45% of pre-COVID arrivals and visitor spend from the US. So it's important that we invest in these markets to make sure that these return fastest and quickest to support the broader recovery in market. California in particular is the single biggest market. Prior to the pandemic, the California market represented around 22 to 25% of the arrivals coming from the US to Australia, and around 28 to 30% of the spend. So California will be an important market for us, and we're continuing to do specific work in regards to marketing this year in California specifically, to make sure that that is returning in the most robust way. The other context here, as we look at California in particular, is prior to COVID, our data was actually telling us that we were losing market share to one of our key competitors in New Zealand. So it's important to us that as we're now both open as competing destinations, that we make sure that we are winning the tourism dollar over New Zealand as much as we can for the Californian customer. So that's just a bit of an insight into our specific broader strategy here. And in terms of if we look forward into our core activities for the rest of this year, partnership marketing will continue to be at the core of what we do. We're investing heavily behind our partnership initiatives. So just to touch on these so you are aware, we will be continuing to support and work in partnership with all of the key wholesale and retail partners that are focused on Australia and South Pacific as a region. We've just launched this week phase one of our KDP support program, and that's focused on working with a number of travel endemic publishers such as Travel Zoo, Travel Alerts, Dunhill as examples, to drive lead generation to offers through the Australia.com offers and deals marketplace on behalf of those partners. That program is just kicking off today. We will be working with all of our key airline partners this year. Next month, we'll be launching in partnership with Qantas in both the US and Canada. And then in the new year, we'll continue with a second wave of activity with Qantas, and then we'll also be launching campaigns with Air Canada in Canada and United Airlines in the US. We will also be relaunching a program with Expedia in partnership with the state and territory teams who are also investing in this platform. That will run now actually from January through June. So that will be a piece of activity that comes in the new year. And then we'll also have a second wave of KDP support where we'll have a broader suite of opportunities for more traditional co-op-led marketing, again, mainly focused on the wholesale and retail channel, but we'll also be providing opportunities for the tour operator channel to access co-op marketing funds from Tourism Australia as well. And then from a distribution perspective, I guess key things here. So one's around our Aussie Specialist program. We have a target to grow our Aussie Specialist community by 800 new qualified Aussie specialists between the US and Canada this year. And the team are working really hard towards that goal already. We will be continuing to work with our core consortia partners, so Virtuoso, Signature Travel Network, and the Travel Leaders Network. Industry events will form a key part of what we do, obviously ATE being the tent pole for us, but we also continue to work with all of our partners and leveraging their partner events that may pop up during the year in the calendar. So not just the consortia main conferences, but also working with partners such as DUA as they look to do roadshow events, etc. And then new business development is an area that we'll be continuing to elevate our focus on. We know that coming out of COVID that the world is a different place now, and during the course of the past couple of years, many wholesale, retail, tour operator partners have been reassessing their programs and looking to diversify their product portfolios. So we feel now is the opportunity for Tourism Australia in partnership with our states to really understand new opportunities in the distribution system to grow product and grow portfolio for Australia, whether that's through building and growing existing programs or looking for partners to add programs to their existing collection. To name some partners that we know that will be commencing programs to Australia this year, Avanti Destinations, a key wholesaler in the US that is not currently selling Australia, they will be launching finally their their Australia program in June this year. Authentic Vacations is another example of a new partner that we're working with to build their Australia programming, a smaller partner, but one where we see opportunities with. And in the retail space, AAA, the consortium there that has various chapters across the US, again, that's a partner that we're also identifying as an area of opportunity for Australia to build and grow both profile for Australia as a destination to their customers, but ultimately how we can convert those through their preferred network of wholesale and tour operator partners as well. And that brings me to the end of my update. So hopefully that gives you a really high level flavour of, I guess, some of the things that we're seeing in the market, some of the work that we have been doing, and some of the work that we intend to undertake through the rest of the financial year. And happy to take any of your questions.
Hi, my name's Kate. I'm from Catherine, and I was just wondering if we had any insights of what the North American travellers are looking for in terms of Australian experiences.
It's a great question. So I think specifically, like not to minutiae in terms of detail, but I guess just a couple of broader trends that are coming through at the moment. So from North America, and this is not necessarily specific to Australia, it's a broader trend that we're seeing in long-haul destination at the moment. So one is around sustainability. So sustainability is high on the North American consumers' radar at the moment. And I think with that, it's really around seeking more understanding from the operators and experiences that they are consuming on a vacation around their sustainable practices as a business and the impact of consuming that experience in terms of the environmental impact. That's number one. Number two, which I think is a big opportunity for Australia, and is something that we're already continuing to focus on, is the cultural aspects that we offer in Australia, whether that's from an Indigenous or modern cultural perspective. We know that over the last couple of years, that, you know, as consumers reassess their priorities, impact on the environment, etc., they're also seeking to have a deeper understanding about the cultural connection with the destination that they are traveling to, and we do know that you know, all of our wholesale partners are seeing a growing trend for including Indigenous experiences within customer itineraries, and it's something that we strongly advocate for and educate with, particularly through the Aussie Specialist Programme. So dialing up the Indigenous experiences, I think is a big opportunity for Australia, not just in terms of the actual experience, but how we actually authentically tell that story. So it's a point of difference for Australia, and providing that with how they can actually do that in a really authentic way when they come down to destination. So there are, I guess, two specific experience trends. The other bigger trend that I guess is happening at the moment broadly, as we're being told from our partners in North America for Australia, is that people are generally spending longer in Australia right now than they have been pre-COVID, and that means that people have the time and opportunity to spend longer in a particular destination. So people aren't in a rush as much to kind of hop around the country as they used to be. So people are staying longer in destinations. So I think that what that means is when customers are choosing a destination, we all have the opportunity to provide a deeper, richer experience broadly in terms of what they're doing on the ground. So I think that's an opportunity for us all. Does that answer your question, Kate?
It does, thank you.
No worries.
Thanks for asking, Kate. And thank you so much, Chris. It was great insight, and it's great to hear that they're spending longer. So hopefully the top end's on their agenda, and we do have the beautiful landscapes, wilderness, Indigenous experiences in the top end. So hopefully they make their stop up here as well. It's also really good to hear that that travel's still high on people's agenda. I know with the previous spotlights we've done with other regions, that travel is still so important, and you know, that giving foregoing other things in this economic climate to still travel. So that, yeah, that's fantastic to hear. Yeah, really, really good. Does anyone else have any other questions? Well, Chris, while we've got him online, make the most of it, everyone. So I'm just checking the chat.
Yeah, me. Sorry, it's Kate again. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because in the Katherine development plan or destination development plan, we've got well-being as a priority. Is that something that is trending still in North American travellers?
It is not as strongly, but I think wellness, I guess, for us falls in the broader bucket of sustainability. It's not something that we, I guess, directly call out, but I think for us, it's kind of captured under that broader sustainability bucket, I guess. But the short answer is yes, but I guess we don't necessarily articulate it in that way from a TA perspective. It kind of falls under that broader sustainability bucket.
Right, got it. Thanks.
Okay, so any other questions for Chris? All right, so I just wanted to say a huge thank you, Chris, for taking the time to join our members. It's great to for our members who are here in the top end, don't always have access to people like yourself to be able to listen and hear what's happening in that marketplace. Another quick thank you to Dominic from Tourism Australia, who's online, who's been assisting us with facilitating the spotlights. So thank you, Dominic. Before we go, just a reminder for everyone that Tourism NT is bringing their international marketing PR teams to Darwin from North America, UK, Central Europe and Japan. So they'll be here in October. So tourism operators are welcome to join that. It'll be Wednesday the 19th of October at Mindle Beach Casino Resort. So we've got a link on our chat room there. So make sure you get along to that, particularly if you want to work with the international markets or learn more about it. So they'll be giving some updates from an NT perspective as well. So thank you. And I'll be remiss to say, Chris, I know you're in LA, but yeah, thoughts with all the people down in Florida.
Thank you.
And weather events. Living in the top end, we know what extreme weather can do, and we're prone to cyclones. So yeah, definitely thinking of those people down there as well. We've got a lot of people before them living in the top end. So
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and yeah, once again, if there's no more questions, huge thank you. Yeah, for giving up your time today, Chris, as I said, to help our members understand what the market's doing in America. It's great to see, as I said, that travel's up there, and it's great to see that they're still big spenders, which is what we really, really want over here.
Yeah.
And time-wise, their length of stay is excellent news for us in the top end, that they will have that time to get up and see us. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, probably, sorry, just one last thing, because I didn't really cover it specifically as a data point, but just on booking windows, I know that's a big question that comes up at the moment. So booking windows, I think we are still seeing, I guess, a divided trend. So we are generally speaking still seeing this trend of 1 to 3 months or 6 to 12 months. We're not really seeing anything in that middle spot, which is typically what we tend to drive out of North America. So we are seeing that trend. As I say, either people are booking really short in, like 1 to 3 months, or they're planning much further out. So that's something that is a bit of a new trend for us. But I feel like that trend will start to normalize back to what we'd be expecting over the next 6 months or so. I think it's just a function of people rushing as destination is opening and wanting to kind of get done.
okay, I think you're frozen, Chris. So yeah, as I said, once again, thank you for all our members coming online. It's always good to learn and keep learning. Sometimes when you're in your business, you don't get a time to look outside the box and see the bigger picture. So a massive thank you, and thank you so much again, Chris, and we'll see you